Hi, my name's Dara, and Micah has asked me to contribute to the featured voices segment of Nutra Nonsense. And so before I just start blabbering on, let me tell you a little bit about myself so you know why perhaps I was invited to talk to you today. So as a, let's say, professional, as a business person, what is my career? What do I do for my job? I am a gender therapist, so most of you probably know what that is, but just in case, that means I'm a mental health counselor, and I do specialize in working with those who are transgender, those who are gender questioning, those who are trans, non-binary, etc. And so that is what I do for a living. So besides just doing that work as a counselor one-on-one in my office, I also am online. I do a blog. I have a Facebook page called Conversations with a Gender Therapist. I have a YouTube channel. I wrote a book this summer called You and Your Gender Identity, A Guide to Discovery. I basically take my knowledge as a gender therapist and all of the people that I've worked with and I've helped, and it gives me information about what is it that still is needed out there for everybody. And I try to create as much as I can, and I put it out there to be able to help and support people. So on the personal side, when I started my private practice in 2008, I did not realize myself that I am non-binary. That is something that I came to the realization of for the first time. It was a little over 2 years ago, and over the last 2 years, it's been a process for me to get to know myself better in this way. So the first question that Micah has asked is, how did you find out about being non-binary, and who inspired that search, or what inspired that search? So I actually went into my records when it came to, did I have a client who identified as non-binary? Is that the first time I learned about what it means to be non-binary? I think that might be true. It's weird because I don't have a specific memory of when did I first learn about non-binary. You would think I would, because it turns out I identify as non-binary, but it kind of reminds me of how when I was a kid, I heard about people who were gay, but I never connected it with myself until much later in life. And so I looked it up, and it looks like the first time I mentioned a client being non-binary was in the spring of 2014. So the reason I feel like this is pretty poignant is because it was in June of 2014 where I had my first realization about this. So in the summer of 2014, I went to a transgender conference. It was the Philly Trans Health Conference. And I know this is a place where a lot of people have realizations about themselves. Conferences are really, really neat places for that to happen. And so in this case, I went wearing one hat. I went wearing my mental health counselor hat. I'm going to learn about non-binary people because there was a workshop that they offered about it, and I thought, oh yeah, so I need to go to this because now I have a non-binary client. And so I went into this workshop, and what happened was they asked everybody to go around and introduce themselves as being cisgender or transgender. And this was like a moment in time for me, because I realized that I did not feel comfortable identifying as cisgender. And that's the place where I started when it came to figuring out that I was non-binary. It started right from that place where I was like, that doesn't sound like something I can say out loud. And that's all I knew right then. And so it was kind of a neat time for me to realize that, because I was literally in the middle of a non-binary workshop. So that meant that I shared how I was feeling, honestly, about my confusion. There was all these people around me who were supportive and understanding and comforting and saying, like, yeah, that's cool, like, you know, explore it, see what this means to you. And so I thought that was a pretty cool coincidence that the moment that I realized what was going on with me, I was surrounded by people who were really understanding. And so when it comes to inspiration, even though I don't know any of the people who were in that workshop, I feel inspired by them. And from that moment when I left that workshop, as I would think about, is this really me? Is this what's going on with me? I would think about all of their stories and how they were sharing their struggles and their discoveries, and that is hugely inspiring to me. So basically, when you think about it, it's really having other people say, hey, first of all, that's okay that you feel that way. Thank you for sharing. And then to have other people say, I feel that way too, or I've been through something similar, because then you suddenly feel like you're not alone. And I think that's, you have to have something like that going on to feel inspired to keep pushing forward, keep nudging, keep seeing, keep seeking your truth about what's going on. Okay, Micah's next question is, who or what was it that made you make that leap from self-discovery over to expression, specifically when it comes to being non-binary? So I would have to say that, for one, I was very inspired by, pretty much other people that I started to get to know through the internet. And even if we didn't have an actual connection, I would read stories through the Nonsense website. I would find different Facebook groups to talk in. I would post on my own Facebook page and talk about some of the questions I had about myself, and people would respond. And that was really helpful for me going along. Like, to not feel like I was alone, to feel like others have gone through what I've gone through. And even if somebody hasn't gone through what I've gone through, I still felt like it was okay. It was all about me being able to figure out me. I know that sounds really cliche, but it became less about having to use words like male or female, even masculine and feminine, although I do tend to use those words sometimes to help describe how I'm feeling. When it came down to it, it was, who is Dara, and how can I best express who Dara is? And so that's the journey that I ended up on. And again, being inspired by people who are on that path as well has been really, really helpful. So I would also have to say, when it comes to who or what has inspired me to continue to explore my gender expression, is people in my life. That probably sounds cliche, but it's true. People who knew me before and quote after, it's really helpful to get their feedback. So for instance, one of the main things I did over the last couple of years is change my haircut, and to get positive feedback about it has been really helpful. And sure, are people really just trying to be nice? Sure, that could be at play, but when I really can tell that they actually mean it. Like, no, like, your haircut looks way more like you than your hair used to look. Or when I started getting more tattoos that are more visible on my body, and people saying, wow, that just looks like you. That looks like something you would have. To me, that's the main goal that I have right now. It's not about becoming less female or more masculine. It's about becoming more me. And so the way I see it is that this is the me that's always been in there. Like, I imagine my teenage Dara, what would that version of me have looked like and acted like and expressed themselves? That would be what I'm doing now. And so it is a little hard to know that I wasn't able to do that when I was younger, but at least I'm able to do it now. And so that's been really helpful to have people in my life give me what so far has been positive feedback about the different ways that I've been expressing myself. That also even includes the clothes that I've been wearing. I'll wear something and maybe to a formal event, and instead of wearing like dresses like I used to wear, I'll wear something that looks really dapper, and people who have known me for years will still say, oh my gosh, like, that's your look, like, that's that combination, that's you. Then it does feel validating. Not that I need praise from other people, but it feels like, what I'm trying to express to you, you're getting it. So to have people in your life to be able to reflect that back to you, who you trust and you feel safe with, I think that's quite important. All right, so Micah asked another question about inspiration. What inspired me to become a gender therapist? And so I would say that becoming a gender therapist isn't something that I ever thought was going to happen. And I don't mean to say that it was difficult to become one. It just happened. And I know that might sound a little strange to some of you, but some of you might have been through that experience before where you start off on a certain path and then you're just surprised by how maybe it kind of goes in a direction you didn't expect. And so I started off as just being like a general mental health counselor, and I definitely had a lot of clients who were LGBT because really, I mean, I'm a part of the community, and so people knew they could be comfortable coming to me to talk. And so the part where it came specifically to those who are transgender, that just evolved over time. You know, more and more people who are trans were looking for help, and more people through word of mouth, and then eventually through my blog and my website, through YouTube, they found out that I did this, and it really became one of those things where the calling to be a gender therapist, it just sort of found me. And I just recognized at one point, literally just one day, I was like, I have so many clients who are transgender. I think this is like my thing. Like, I think this is actually what I'm going to specialize in. This is what I need to really dive deep into. And it wasn't just about counseling clients. It was about, I know this is going to sound dramatic, but changing the world. Like, that is actually my goal. And that's what I want to be doing, is changing the world to be a place that's more welcoming to those who are transgender. And I can help people all day long, but if the world isn't changing at the same time, it's still going to be like really, really difficult for my clients and everybody else I'm trying to help. So this evolved, beyond even being a gender therapist. It evolved into being, Micah had said, even being a role model and helping with this cause. And so even being an inspiration maybe to others, I hope that it can be inspiring when I talk about my experience and what I've been through. I hope it lets a lot of you know that this is an experience that's very valid, and it's something worth expressing and sharing and being visible about, because the more of us that do that, the more we're going to help other people. It's just going to be this chain reaction that just continues. So another question for Micah: when it comes to where I continue to look for inspiration and where I would suggest others look for inspiration, I would say that, again, it really, for me, comes from the people that I help. And I'm able to be inspired by the changes they make in their life and the bold decisions that they move forward with. I'm able to be inspired when they're in pain. It inspires me to want to figure out, how can I help? What can I do, not only with them as an individual, but in terms of the entire world? What can I do to help change it, to make it easier for them? I find that you have to care to be inspired. You have to actually be able to feel moved emotionally to then feel like you're inspired to either do changes for yourself or that you see that in somebody else. And so even if it's like you're getting inspiration from people who are on YouTube, you may not know them personally, but they're putting that out there for you specifically. They might not know who you are, but they want you to see them and they want you to become inspired by them. And so I feel like that's what's going to continue helping all of us continue to feel supported and grow and help change the world together. So, and it's not just YouTube, I'm just using that as an example, because, obviously there's other ways you can do that through different websites and forums and just anywhere in your life that you're able to find inspiration where you can see others who are struggling, and it makes you want to reach out and help them. Or if you're struggling and you know that there's people out there who they're rooting for you. And again, it doesn't matter if we don't know each other personally. It's just this collective feeling of wanting to make a difference. Well, that's it for my version of Featured Voices. I hope that you were able to take something from it And like I said, I may not know every single person out there who's watching this, but I have like just a general feeling inside of wishing everybody well who watches this, and wishing everybody that they get the support that they need, and just know that this is a world that's changing, and it really is evolving into a place that's going to get better and better for those of us who identify as non-binary to live in. But we got to work together. We're going to have to work at it to make this happen. If you'd like to reach out to me, you can go to my website, which is darahoffmanfox.com, and there's a contact me button on there that you can go to. You can find me on Facebook at Conversations with a Gender Therapist, and you can find my YouTube channel. If you just type in Dara Hoffman Fox, it should pull it up. So again, thank you so much, Micah, for having me as a part of the Featured Voices segment. It really means a lot that you asked me to share. So thank you, everyone. Good luck. Take care.